Welcome, fellow Zucoin holders. This is Dr. Zoo, Monday, 27th of April, 2026. What a great weekend it's been, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's on board. Everybody can hear me. Welcome aboard. Big crowd today. Looking forward to the catch up. Now, let's get through some questions because there are questions here in the chat group. Now, if you've got a question, for those that new on board, by all means, share with the rest of us. You can click that button on the website, put in your question, and hopefully Dr. Zoo sees it, and therefore we can answer all these questions. But thank you, everybody that's been listening. Remember, you can always get back the old replays. Go to zucoins.com. You've got plenty of information up the top. Well, actually on the main page, you guys can click the replays and they're all there. They all come up on YouTube for all and sundry to listen to. You've got the community links at the top. Just click the Zoo AI. We have a power of information available, which answers all the questions. And, you know, let's enjoy and share some wisdom. Wisdom today. Today's a wisdom day. So let's just check some of these questions. Now, Pondering Creature has put something up, which is got me pondering. Great name, Pondering Creature, because you've got me pondering about what you're pondering. If you could enlighten Dr. Zoo as to what that big black picture means, that would be fantastic. So we'll send out a cheerio to Pondering Creature. Come back. And, well, there you go. Hi, Alan. Is this real Zucoin selling on Base Exchange? My friend bought some for $1.40. I think he got scammed. Well, we haven't listed any coins anywhere else other than if you're doing two options. One, if you have a Zucoin wallet and you are dealing with someone that you know in your contacts groups, or you have connections with people that you want to peer-to-peer trade, then by all means, you have a two-way system of giving you the sender and receiver certainty of transfer, but you have to work out between you how you get paid, because someone could transfer the coins and someone else doesn't send the money. So that's been available for 3 odd years or 4 years now, and there's been a lot of off trading, and you can see the history of that sort of stuff and the earlier days with Zutopia in its soft launch by going to myzucoins.org, and there's a statistical analysis page there. But I don't know anything about Base Exchange. Got no idea what that is, and I'd be very concerned unless it's someone you know on that exchange, or you've done some homework as to whether Base Exchange is real, or he might have got scammed, because it's certainly got nothing to do with Zucoins HQ. That's Dr. Zoo's HQ, by the way. So I have no idea other than having to do some homework and just checking that out, because there's going to be a lot of these phony things popping up, and hopefully you stick to the main program, which is zutopia.com and zucoins.com and myzucoins.org for all the information on that. So Pondering Creature, I presume that's what you've sent and posted, that black screenshot. There's something to do with that, but I'd be very, very careful. ZooChain, by the way, you've got there, we have nothing to do with it either. That's one's been reported by us as a scam because they're also breaching our trademarks. And if you go to the zucoins.com website and scroll down the bottom to resources and legals, you'll see that we've actually put up the correct weight in terms of the trademarks from around the world that gives protection. So if people are being silly about things, we've been able to refer that to some of the social media sites and they've been very active and positive in shutting these things down, because they write garbage, they don't tell the truth, and it is what it is in terms of sticking to the main information source, which again is zucoins.com and zutopia.com. Now, I'll try and work through some of these before I touch on the topic of the day, people. Now, KZ, not sure who KZ is, but you've asked the question, why is there no movement in the price? It's very simple, because there is no price movement. We don't want to be flippant, but one of the things that come out of the weekend, clearly, is that we said to everybody, please God, read your emails. It's not hard to do. Take a few seconds of your life and read what the support team has been sending. Because in the email, as you know, Zutopia went live on Friday at 9 o'clock. Went live on Friday, the 24th of April, 2026. And it was split into two parts. Live to give all the newbies the opportunity to get their head on how the Zucoin wallet connects to the Zutopia wallet, how that's to be achieved, a sequence of events that are live to give people the opportunity to onboard, which includes the signature connection. It includes the KYC AML with Stripe to complete all that process. It includes creation of buy or sell orders, and certainly it included getting your heads around the listings, how they look, amendments you can do, and so forth. So the second part of that email then said clearly that Riley Redford, our CFO and project manager of Zutopia, when he is happy with how that process goes for that part of the onboarding, which is live, and people were told to also delete their old Zutopia wallets, not your Zucoin wallet, not your Zucoin wallet. As a result of that, then he will press the green button to effectively activate the live trading mechanism, but not before. Now, we have put to me a bit over the weekend, really. We have sort of two groups. We have the smarties, those that have been on Zutopia before and have easily got through that process and ticked the boxes, and then they were demanding instant trading. Problem with that is you need other people on the other side to trade with and build that up as we get the newbies on board. Now, I think there's about 200 newbies over the last couple of days. It's taken a little bit of work to give those people the opportunity, and more to come over the course of this week. So do not get carried away that you want to instantly start trading, because you've got to give your other Zucoin holders the opportunity to work out what they're doing. And when they work it out, we get the feedback and we do some changes. For example, this morning in our great team meeting of the developers, including the greatest man, Robert Novak, and a special guest in the meeting today was the great man, Riley, and subsequent discussions with the Flux team as to how the weekend panned out. It became obvious that even the step instructions to show people how to connect Zucoin wallet, albeit you just press the Zucoin icon inside of the Zucoin wallet, and it says you install Zutopia. The steps that we had for those instructions to simply scroll down to either the three dots, that's if you've got a iPhone 26.3 or plus version, or if you've got the earlier one, it's the little icon that pops up at the bottom that allows you to share, either one allows you to share the wallet, the Zutopia wallet, and then you scroll down to add to home screen. that creates the Zutopia wallet, because we're not doing it through the App Store for obvious reasons. Otherwise, Apple wants to take a fair chunk of your money. So that's the process for a PWA wallet, Progressive Web App, which is both Zucoins and also the Zutopia wallet. Now, what came out of that is, sadly, people were reading steps 1 and 2, but not 3 and onwards, and then jumping ship and getting in and out and not installing the Zutopia wallet. Now, you may say, because you're a smarty and you've been down this road before and you want to immediately start trading and you're excited, just have a thought for the poor person that's new to the scene and has to understand this world of PWA. So we've initiated today a more of a visual of the way you find those 3 dots at the bottom of your phones. This is iPhone. Android, not a problem, by the way. Beautiful, magnificent, easily install, press a button, and boom shakalaka, there it is. Apple, a little bit confusing. Nevertheless, we found the success rate on the downloads of the original Zucoin wallet to be sensational now, and we're going to transition that sort of visual across to the Zutopia app, even though we didn't think this is necessary, and that will allow people to visually see what they've got to do with the pictures of the icon at the bottom of your phone and the 3 dots, and nothing written, as in you don't follow steps 1, 2, and 3 or 4 and have to read, because nobody wants to read. There's just no readers anymore in this planet. It's you know, it's just sad. People don't want to read, and when they don't read, these issues arise. In fact, I had a good mate, won't say who he is, but he was confused too. He went in there, and when he finally downloaded his Zutopia app and he had it connected to the Zucoin wallet, oh, I don't know. He said that the orange message on KYC didn't appear, but it did. In fact, he actually had it because he didn't delete his earlier Zutopia app as instructed. And of course, that led to problems because he was confused. So there's the confusion that can happen. And you only need 4 out of every 10, and that's a 40% stuff up rate. And when you people get excited, I know you want to trade this afternoon or tomorrow or even by Thursday. We'll wait and see what Riley says. But there's no good trading if you can't get the other side right and they can't get the systems in place in terms of the first live onboarding, because then that causes us more headaches after, when they then have trouble with their monies and pre-authorization. Oh, it just goes on and on. But there you go. We're on top of it. We're on top of it. What I did like about the weekend was it flushed out a few people that were getting themselves caught up in realizing they bought a new phone, and the way they went about moving data from the old phone to the new phone, and the impact that may have had on their Zucoin wallet. Because then they say, look, I moved it across and they're gone. They're gone. All my coins are gone. Oh my goodness, they're gone. Now, I did say to this gentleman who, funnily enough, identified an interesting and curious little problem, that despite our contact information on the main site is up to date, we encourage people to, if you have a Zucoin problem, you contact support@zucoins.com. If you have a Zutopia problem, you contact support@zutopia.com. Okay. Now, Google, as beautiful as they are, one of the great aggregators of everybody's data, are making billions of dollars that Zukaz wants to have a crack at and take off and give it to the hands of consumers through the tokenization concepts and the hunt and collect that we're going to be doing. When they don't get all the information and how that's filled out, you wouldn't believe it. You search Zucoins, you don't go to the main site, and they tell you that Zucoins office is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, as thrilling as that is, this gentleman, quite rightly pointed out, he wanted 24-hour service because he wanted to check that he hadn't lost his coins in the transition from his old phone to his new phone. Now, you won't believe it, but even though it was Anzac Day, Dr. Zoo was open for business and took that call because he's very interested in trying to make sure there's no replication of this problem down the road. So it's better to give up a little bit of Dr. Zoo's time on Anzac Day, forget about the grandkids, and focus on this person wanting 24-hour service, which he did. Took an hour of his life, but it was a great result in the end. And it was a result where Mr. J, we just call him Mr. J, agreed that on a certain arrangement that his initial, Mr. J, can be part of today's show to share with you what not to do. Now, from the very beginning, on the website, there are tutorials, there are videos, there are emails. Dr. Zoo's talked about it. The moment you get a Zucoin wallet, it tells you when you open up to back it up. You put coins in there and you back it up. Now, worst case, you back it up into files on your phone or you share it. Worst case, not highly recommended, but certainly you can share it by email, send it to yourself, and the My Secret file can sit on your hard drive of your computer, or it can sit on a USB that you download it to, or you could shoot it up to iCloud, encrypt it if you need to, but you've got it somewhere. And if you've done that and you're going to rush out this afternoon and give Telstra or Vodafone or whoever some extra money and pick up a brand new iPhone 18, make sure before you transfer any data, for God's sake, from the old phone to the new phone, that you can see it's backed up in the old phone. And with that backup, if it all goes pear-shaped, you can put a new wallet on the new phone and claw back and restore from the backup your coins. Now, we've had a couple of instances of this, and you need to do this because if you're going to trade, you need to understand how powerful that is. On one hand, it gives you full sovereign control of your digital assets, but you can't ring up and ask for a refund. It doesn't work. Once you've bought the digital asset, that is your baby, your problem, your control. Now, while they're in this current environment and we're building up to the Zutopia and the switch is going to go on and the trading, once you start seeing some massive increases in prices, there's going to be a lot of sad people if they lose coins because they're not following or reading instructions. Just like my great friend decided to then read the email, and in that email, it tells you from Friday how we're onboarding live, how we'll see how that goes, still working our way through that over the next few days this week, and then turn it on because there's no turning back. All right. So just think about the analogy. You go to the ATM machine. It spits out the $100 that you want. It acknowledges the security on your card. You put the $100 in your back pocket, and suddenly that's your problem, not the bank's and not the ATM machine. It's exactly the same, right? If you hand that $100 to somebody inadvertently, that is your problem. If you lose your wallet, that is your problem. You don't ring up Mr. ATM man and ask Mr. ATM man, oh, hang on, I got that money, but I lost it, and I'd like another one, please. So the Zutopia onboarding has triggered a few of these little things. They're not big issues really, but they could be. Because then people, when they lose something, they blame someone else. It's very hard to blame Mr. ATM man because he doesn't talk very much. You know, he sits in the wall, he looks at you, and he won't talk back. But when you find that there's been an error from Google, which has been since rectified, then you get the contacts. Dr. Zoo's in the middle of a little break on Anzac Day to celebrate our extraordinary young men that built and saved this country. Dr. Zoo's a big fan of history and the nation that's been built. And there's a disruption to that because people don't follow instructions, don't want to know about their own research and do things. Then we have a problem. So, KZ, I'm not sure what you're reading or not reading, but can you please have a think about what you've posted? With no disrespect, it could be a good question, and maybe you just haven't had an opportunity or you haven't received the email, because some people say, oh, I didn't get the email. I didn't get the email. For the last 4 years, I didn't get the email. I can come in and listen to Dr. Zoo, but I didn't get an email in relation to why the Zucoins aren't trading instantly for the gratification of those that know what they're doing. And the reason is it's in the email. Now, the email, to be fair, might be hiding in your spam box. So use a bit of initiative, go looking for it, and then you can say to yourself, look, I've checked spam box, I've checked the inbox, I've done all of that. I still can't get any satisfaction. Great song. No satisfaction. We know who that comes from. And I will now use my initiative and send an email on my own bat to support@zutopia.com and ask the question, why didn't I get an email? Or what is the latest email that can be sent to solve this particular problem? So the answer, KZ, very simple. It's not turned on yet. And I think that's already clearly here on the screen I'm looking at from Peaceful Creature. They haven't turned trading on yet. It's amazing. It's amazing what we can learn. And then that leads to the next question. Will live trading be switched on in April as guaranteed? It'll be switched on. We want it in April. The question will be, how many of those are going to suffer? But, you know, the team wants it on in April for you guys. They want to get rid of all the twitches and excitement. I can recall, funnily enough, when I first rolled out the Zutopia, the concept, a couple of years ago. And the amount of negative impact on Dr. Zoo's life about this is crazy. Why would we build our own? Why don't we just list, put them up there with an exchange that's based in Lithuania, or the other ones that have got onboarding and offboarding problems? Now the good news is, the positive. The absolute positive of all this is we now have an incredible amount of early adopters and new adopters excited about Zutopia and wanting to trade. And so are we. Wouldn't know what the price will be. And Dr. Zoo sends out the message, you're going to get some crazy prices because we're doing our job and you as a collective community, can do whatever you like. So let's just give the Riley a couple more days, get his changes in and head on a few things. Remember, we've only just switched on live at 9 o'clock on Friday. Right now, if you do the maths, it's extraordinary what that means. What that means is that we've had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday. So 4 days of live onboarding to get our heads on how our database is going. And unfortunately, there's quite a few really, that having some issues, and we'll get over that. So just cool your jets, let the team get on with it, and they want to switch it on as soon as possible because we have a lot of people that want to buy some cheap coins if that's what happens with some of the early sellers, which we expect. Question here again, why is the last price on Zutopia 0? Well, because there's no trading. So that's why. When you have no trading and you have a 0 no trading between a sender and receiver, you end up with a 0. But when you turn it on, and whatever that trading is between a sender and receiver, that price will be automatically picked up and pushed into the system. And then that is what we talked about the other day, will be a live feed into your Zucoin wallets, which the last trade was $2.05. Let me just check if that's still the same, because we had some testing there the other day. Yeah, 205. That will change in real time for everybody to see what's happening, even if you haven't got a Zutopia app up and running. Okay, so we're nearly there. Be patient with your fellow Zucoin holders, because the more that get on, the more that don't have problems, the greater the prospects are of your success in trading, which is what we want. So, yeah, we've got another little, we digress, people. Oh, here we go. Yeah, don't read, just understand it. Absolutely. Absolutely. TikTok for visual simulation instead of old-fashioned reading. Well, guess how that works. Go and find TikTok and put your data on there and knock yourself out, make it visual, whatever you like, and then know that the great Chinese emperor is getting all your data because you want to play on TikTok. And when that bites you on the ass down the road, then you'll have visual simulation, all right? Probably stimulation as well as simulation. So be very, very careful of what you wish for. Not interested in TikTok. We're interested in the process. So I understand what you're trying to say, try and create more visuals, but we create visuals. We created visual tutorials and nobody looks at them. So it's quite an interesting balance, really. People will start to look at things a lot more closely as the action takes off. And no doubt, when you start seeing coins at $100, $200 or $400, I'm not giving financial advice here, it could be as easily as 10 cents, but whatever the price is, that is the stimulation and gets people out and about to take an opportunity to then read or visually see what's already provided. So we think TikTok wouldn't have a bar of it. If you're putting stuff on TikTok, then you can rest assured that those wonderful, and don't get me wrong, they're great little capitalistic socialists over there. We were in business for 6 years in Beijing. And the great news about Beijing is that you think of it like a chocolate cake. Right? You think you get more of the cake, but in fact, you're lucky to end up with a candle. So you have to be pretty astute to take the Chinese on. Extraordinarily wonderful people, but they really know what they're doing in business and technology and everything else. So just be careful if that's what you're thing that rocks your boat is TikTok. Couldn't think anything worse. Big, massive data collection engine. That's why I said, Dr. Zu has said, the world has to change. You cannot have centralized bodies, whether it's TikTok or Google or Meta, Instagram, any of those, sucking the life out of your data, knowing who you are, pinpoint accuracy using that data to their commercial advantage. And that's why the beauty of having a Zucoin wallet with a signature concept of locking in to, example, the Zutopia wallet without the personal necessary ID because it's not needed. Stripe does that. You can push and promote products without knowing the ID of the person, but you can location based and drive the value of that deal directly. That's for another day. Let's not talk about that. Okay, some Android phones, the install button does not work. Well, you're the first one to tell us it's not working. I trust that you have sent this news to support@zutopia.com, taken a screenshot of what's not working, and giving us that feedback, because this is exactly why we take the process we have, and not sure who long-termer is, but don't just sit back waiting for Dr. Zu. If that's the case, put it in, because if you're on that situation with Android phone, then there may be others, and they may be having trouble as well. It's saying here that you have to go to the 3 dots menu and select Add to Home Page. We've not had an issue. There's a second one there. Zucoin Rocketmen have found this too. So I'm hoping we're not just sitting idly making commentary, people, but you're actually contributing to share that knowledge. Take a screenshot, take a video, send it to the team, because if they don't know, all you're doing is slowing down the process before they say we're not comfortable in pressing the live button for trading, because you have not bothered to send that in. Curious character. For something spent so long to simplify, I find it harder than normal crypto. The Zucoin wallet is easy though. We never said it was going to be easy. Appreciate your comment on the Zucoin wallet. It's fantastic. That is awesome. And we've been doing the same work with the Zutopia wallet. But if it was simple, everybody'd be doing it, and you might have ended up losing all your money on one of the other exchanges, and you'd find that a lot harder to get that recovery, because there is not a marketplace in the world that's combining the firepower of Zucoins and SplitChain with the Zutopia app, which is all about the only crypto with off-exchange transfer of coins, direct peer-to-peer transfer of money, and no custodialship of either. So if you need it simplified even more, send a note to support@zutopia.com. Make the commentaries that you wish and how you would make it simple, and give the team some ideas. Because at the end of the day, the concepts that we're saying, and even in the latest changes from our meeting this morning, then that should tick some more boxes, as we've done with the hard work with the Zucoin wallet. It is the easiest wallet on the planet compared to other crypto wallets. I mean, I saw the other day, in fact, it might have been Anzac Day. It was a busy Anzac Day, actually, but I saw that people were having battery problems with their ledger wallets, which then caused them grief as to even looking at their crypto. How's that? Imagine that. That'd be a hoot. Oh, my battery's not working. No, oh, it's not charged. Oh my God, how good's that? That's an absolute cracker. So that's the sort of stuff we do. Now, Timid Buddy, come out of the blocks. Let's read Timo Buddy's little commentary here. This is so predictable. Last week you said, who gives a shit, I think that means, for the people who can't work it out. We are moving forward without them. Get ready for another month delay. Well, I never said we don't give a shit. I said you'll get left behind. So time's running out on that and you will get left behind. But you're not helping yourself, Timid Buddy. You know, if you know exactly to how to help your fellow Zuconians, knock yourself out. You know, you've got the ability to share and get on social media and do all the things that you think, because without your buddies, you won't be buddying anything in terms of trading. So we've got to do the hard work because, you know, even though, you know, you want the best early results, which we all do, we still haven't changed from day one, and that is the ability to create mass adoption, mass usability on a scale that hasn't been done. It's a fact. You can look at all of the cryptos on the planet, and they all suffer from friction because of the nature of the beast, the design, the way crypto works today, seed phrases, and all that stuff. And you can just cool your jets. So our mission is to, which we've done, locked and loaded the live app release 9 o'clock on Friday last week. A few days is not going to take a lot out of your life, Timid Buddy, and just be prepared to see what the boys do next few days, and they'll turn it on. And then you can whinge about the price, which we're excited about. We are so excited to see the commentary there until we hit our straps, because we know that if we put 1 million people on board, we're not going to have 300,000 queries redirected to Timid Buddy's mobile phone on the weekend. I mean, we can. We'd be delighted. We'd be delighted to switch that on 24/7, because as I said, part of our big marketing strategy is through the US of A. And to all those in the US of A listening, fantastic to have you on board. And funnily enough, you'd be interested to know that the people in the United States don't operate on the same timeline as Timid Buddy is here today at 4:19 p.m. or 4:40 now. So Timid Buddy will be up all night trying to work out and handle the queries. You know, way you go. So there's no such thing as a delay. It's all about the way in which the system moves forward and what happens. And this is the month we want to see the trading. That's what we're going to achieve, but you could get left behind, or you could have a worse price, Timid Buddy. So thank you for your contribution. And let's just see. We have Fancy Trailblazer with an update on the Android. And maybe this is part and parcel of why you need to send queries to support@zutopia.com. By the way, a full disclosure, Dr. Zoo doesn't have an Android, right? And when I talk about leaving people behind, there was even an indication some time ago that maybe we should just focus on the 1.6 billion people with an iPhone and forget about the other ones. I mean, it's a lot of people. It's a bit like, you know, we had that issue where the iPhone 12 was a problem. And is 225 million people enough? You know, there wouldn't be a crypto concept in the world that could even think about handling that sort of scope of people. But we have pre-planned for tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people long term. And that's why I talked about the nodes. A humble little SplitChain node at $105 US a month could handle 100 million wallets. Now, if you think otherwise, give me the information, send it to Dr. Zoo, and share with us how many miners in Bitcoin are capable of even thinking about those numbers and trading in real time on a layer one when they're doing 7 transactions per second at a cost of $88,000 per Bitcoin mined US, and they're still underwater at 77,000 US. So it's all about how we've deliberately designed the scalability and taking the time. But this update from Fancy Trailblazer says I'm on Android and an early adopter, which is fantastic. I had to update to the latest Chrome version, and it worked as good as Alan said. Also, last Friday, I uninstalled Zutopia and reinstalled it. All my information was still with Stripe and only had to confirm it via text message code. Well, that's fantastic. Well, that there is the information that the team at support@zutopia.com need, because that is the gateway ticket to Zutopia. And we mean utopia with Zutopia, because that leads to all of the switch on buttons that we want. So maybe people, if you'd have had a problem with your Android, then you would have got a AI response that said to upgrade your Chrome versions, as indicated here, and that would have alleviated the problems of worrying about where the 3 dots are and the earlier conversation that you can't install. So this is fantastic. This is really the sort of feedback that we needed to see. Now, someone's come in, Cool Cat. Thanks, Cool Cat. Just to clarify, if my phone is stolen, buy a new phone, then copy and paste the Zoo backup file and restore on the new phone. Look, unless you have a fetish about desperation in looking at your Zucoins every day on your phones, there's no real reason to leave them on the phone. I mean, if your phone is stolen, everything can get stolen if your access is in trouble. All right, so it's dead in the water. You might as well, just open your bank account and send out the money at that point, because there'll be other apps affected by a potentially stolen phone. You need to back up if on the phone that you're on, and as much as you can, press the backup button. You can go there in the settings at the top right and back it up. And as I said earlier, find something to back it up to. There's plenty of options. Even if I said if you email it to your hard drive on your computer, or you have the ability to plug in a USB into your phone. It's not hard. ScanDisk, there's a million different backups. And then press that button and back up your wallet to something that's not on the phone, or put it in iCloud, encrypt it into iCloud. If your phone's gone, then you will have no problems in getting a new phone. You don't need to copy and paste it, but what you can do, you can certainly restore, because there'll be 0 coins in the wallet. You can press the restore button and it'll search for where those backups are, and you could re-plug in your USB. You could send it back from your computer to your new phone. You can save it in files, or you can draw it back down from iCloud. Okay, that's the sensible thing to do. But unless you're rearing to go, and all of a sudden Riley this week presses the button and says trading's a goer, because some people got left behind and others have now increased the numbers of how they're going to onboard successfully through the live onboarding, following instructions, etc., then there's no need to look at it every day on your phone. It's best to, if you're a long-term player, back it up, as we said, and put it somewhere safe. Put the USB somewhere safe, or a number of USBs. You can have a number of USBs. You don't have to have just the one. And you'll be fine. And then when you're ready, you bring it back, you hook up Zutopia, and that's the little bit that we're improving slightly, because people get confused with the installing the Zutopia wallet and realizing there's a code that's generated from the Zucoin wallet that links the two together. All right. It's like putting a plug in a PowerPoint. We're linking it together so that the electricity can flow, move between both apps. So you can see that the Zutopia knows that that particular wallet has X number of coins, so that when you go to sell, you can't shimmy the system. It knows, it checks the SplitChain. It knows what coins that are on that wallet, and it completes the transactions and helps the seller off exchange transfer. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a magnificent concept. Now, yeah, not just skim read. Look, that's perfect if you don't skim read. People can't sort of, we get that all the time. We get it all the time. So let's just sit tight with it, and away we go. Now, cool cat. I didn't have a yellow banner, and support said I already have an account, so need to complete Stripe again. Anyone else had this? Well, that's an interesting one. Dr. Zoo doesn't have trading on Zutopia, hasn't ever traded on Zutopia, but the yellow Stripe KYC banner does appear. Now, if you were an earlier adopter using Zutopia, then it's most likely that Stripe have retained that information, and that's why the yellow banner hasn't appeared again. So just send a screenshot of what you're seeing and where it's at, and then push that to support@zutopia.com. And the boys will certainly look at it to see if there is an issue. I don't think there is. I think when the button's pressed and you start trading, you'll be rearing to go, because otherwise Stripe won't let you trade. Without that KYC, you're dead in the water. And they put in place everything that you need to create a success. And we know that the trading works because in the soft launch, there's over 3.5 million coins transacted, $4 million in real money moved. So it's not like it hasn't worked. We got all that experience from the earlier soft launch. What we're really focused on is we don't want a single person talking about how they can't install the Zutopia wallet or connect to the Zucoin wallet. That's big. That's the first thing. The second really is making sure that the transactions you complete can happen without you getting frustrated, because they're going to be super fast. Remember, this whole process is all about instant, quick time transfers. So it's like nothing you're going to experience again or before, because it is unbelievable. All right. So if you're selling and you press the buttons, the buyer will get an instant notification. Actually, that's the other thing. Well, think of it. If you are in doubt that there is anything in your mind that you haven't or can't remember about notifications being switched on, if you go into your Zucoin wallet and you press the cog at the top right, the settings cog, they call that. It's a little wheel, cogs on it. And then you press halfway down, you'll see a heading called notifications. And then it'll say, get alerts about your wallet, transactions and more. allow notifications, press that button, and then it'll come up with a big green tick. It'll say notifications enabled, and then press the word done, and you'll be back on the home screen. Very, very simple. But by doing that, if you're uncertain, you've triggered the locked in process, because sometimes Apple can get a bit funny and change the notifications and bits and pieces, and you will be in a ready state for trading and getting notifications if you are a buyer or seller. Now, gee, we've got a few barreling through here. Dr. Zoo's having trouble. Well, where do I start? Dr. Zoo, I've got to pick out a couple of beauties here that might help people. Let's talk about, Timid Buddy. Hey, Timid Buddy. We're going to get crazy prices because your so-called mass marketing plan, of which you launched in January, hasn't worked. Well, we didn't launch the full marketing plan. We told you that. Why would we want to go out? Our objective was between 1,000 and 20,000 new wallets. That's not mass marketing. Why would we want to go out and get 1 million people on? We get 300,000 queries that are going to be redirected to your phone, Timid Buddy. Let's just think clearly. Let's just open our minds. Just relax. Think about it. Get things ticked and in order. And the marketing and the mass marketing hasn't changed. It's been on the website for 3 years about what's going to happen. It's going to embrace Zucas. It's got all sorts of wonderful hunt and collects and dropping strategies and all that. We know how we can deliver instantly coins through Zucas as part of that reward program globally. We've got all that on the website. Zucas speaks for itself. It's been an international and Australian award winner for its technology. Zari, which is the white labeling part of the business, has certainly been at the end of those international awards. So we have the technology. What we don't have is getting it right so that people know what the processes are that can accommodate that marketing. So it's working well, Timid Buddy. Unless you've got a better idea, there's nothing stopping you sending a little note to support@zutopia.com. And if you've got a list of priorities of how you see this can work, then by all means, we are happy little Vegemites. Dr. Zoo welcomes into the fold all these ingenious ideas. So if you can shift yourself out of that half glass empty phase and become half glass full, you'll be amazed what you can achieve. And that achievement, that energy, that raw energy, you can push into assisting with the mass marketing. And it might only be 10 people, Timid Buddy. But when you've got over 11,000 wallets running around already, and you times that by 10 friends, it's not hard. You might have a mum and dad and grandma, because we accommodate an age bracket as young as 13 and as old as 98, then Timid Buddy, you'll be amazed what you'll achieve. You times that by 10 and there's 100,000. That's already starting to get into territory that makes some phenomenal numbers on buying support, especially when you can buy fractions of coins and offline and not risk your money. So no, we're delighted with how it's all working out at the moment, and we don't get pressured by Timid Buddies that want to get instant wealth gratification because they're in a hurry. And we are all about sticking with the plan that's been on the website for over 3 years and hasn't changed one iota, except for adjusting the processes so that everybody can be comfortable and get on board. That's why we went live. It's called Live Onboarding. Just have a squiz at that. Now, thank you, Tim. timid. That's good. Now, let's just check. Let's just check for a couple of more of these posts here in case there's something that didn't stick out. Now, there's the orange button that didn't work either. Well, it must work because it's been working. So that could something to do with your phone. But again, take a screenshot, lock and load the picture, send it to support@zutopia.com. Dr. Zoo, funnily enough, is not on support, although he was busy beavering away on Anzac Day, because with the vast majority of buttons and testings work, but it may be something quirky to do with your phone. There could be a million things. You may not be getting as a result of the press button scenario. It could be to do with your upgraded or not upgraded phone. We need to get to the bottom of it. Can't work and accommodate everybody, but that's an example of where people can get left behind and the frustrations, because when the trading opens up, it doesn't stop 24/7, and boom shakalaka, it goes, and you could miss out because you didn't send your problem to support@zutopia.com. So let's just, Brave Users indicated something there as well. But again, this is sort of messages we get. If you look at Brave User, the commentary here, I found that too. 3-dot menu, then add to homepage worked. What does that mean? Is that reference to Android? Is that a reference to iPhone? Is that an old phone, a new phone? What model is it? What's your upgrade? Just think, people, about teasing out a little bit more information that's important, that can be quite readily addressed, which comes back to people not following some of the steps that were there that I talked about earlier, that can be created as a visual, where we overcome enormous amount of problems when we revisited this with the Zucoin wallet. Little did we suspect that we get the double up of problems in the Zutopia. Now, that's our fault. You know, our vision was more about preparing for the mass marketing so we can help, you know, the little timid man out and get him happy, timid buddy. And that comes at a cost, because maybe it's something very, very simple. So we've got a curious character suggesting that there are hundreds of decks to do that, easy to use, and don't have Stripe controlling you. And you know what they don't have? Certainty of payment. So if you do your homework, curious character, which is a valid point, it may be easier in your mind because you're transferring the crypto, and what he's referring to is a decentralized exchanges, Uniswap or one of those. What you're not telling people is you have to rely on the person on the other end that will then may or may not transfer you the money to an account, which then takes some time to get confirmation. There's no such thing as an escrow, and all of a sudden you might have sent your coins and there's no money arrives because they're scamming you. What we're saying is it's not Stripe controlling you, it's providing the efficiency that confirms without central control by a DEX who's bringing together people in that, they call it a decentralized exchange, but in fact they've got issues. And those issues, the only easy to use, because you get a wallet download, what we're doing is connecting two wallets in a secure way that gets 100% certainty that people will receive their coins. That's why we have the only signature test in the world validated against the SplitChain. That doesn't happen. And in fact, just think about your DEX. You get a wallet address of where you send those coins, and it's one-way traffic. You could send it to the wrong wallet address and nothing, because you've sent it and you've been stupid it's gone to the wrong wallet address, and that's gone into the ether or some scammer. The validation between sender and receiver on Zucoin SplitChain is unique in the world to us, not to the DEX. And in fact, the purpose of Stripe is very simple. It validates that there is money, tick that box. It puts it in a pre-authorization mode. It waits for the transfer of the coins that gets absolute certainty on those signatures, cryptographic signatures. And then it releases the funds directly to the seller. So it's not easier, a lot easier. And don't get carried away with DEX. That's where the biggest frauds are happening right now. The exchanges themselves are open to fraud, manipulation, abuse, wrong addresses. The list goes on and on. Zutopia solves those problems. But at the end of the day, if you think you're happier with that and you want to use DEX, put your coins on DEX. And again, that famous saying, knock yourself out. You don't have to use Zutopia. If you feel comfortable and you feel as though that you want to take that chance and get your money, and you know, it's a lot different if you're getting out of a DEX $100 than if you happen to have made $1 million, and see how easy that is when someone on the DEX resides in Uganda or Namibia. Then you'll see some real action. So think about that. Think about that, curious character. But again, your decision. We're not here forcing anybody to use anything. We don't force anybody to buy Zucoins, and we don't force anybody how to sell them. That's the beauty of the decentralization. In fact, you might build your own marketplace. Now, that would be very pleasant for Dr. Zoo. Dr. Zoo welcomes mass adoption, mass experts coming into play, and certainly others that want to contribute with, if not better systems, and how you see it. That is the most extraordinary, beautiful thing. Oh, just wonderful. Wonderful when you think about what's been built and developed and ticking these boxes for everybody's benefit. Now, we're not saying we're 100% perfect, but I tell you, we're doing everything we can at the end of the day to satisfy no loss of coins and payment of money without Dr. Zoo having to fork out of his private account to cover the risks and reversals that these exchanges put in place, because the general systems around the world do not work. I mean, we are considering some other options as well to assist, like using stable coins, but Dr. Zoo can't get comfort from a number of the bigger players that are in that space. And in fact, we just saw the other day, people, $344 million of monies on wallets using Tether. And you may recall that that's pegging it to a US dollar. And all of a sudden, at the instructions, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, that $344 million has been frozen and locked down because of accusations about where that source of that coins, as in the Tether, comes from. And there is your next problem. A centralized exchange, custodialship, wallets, and you can kiss that goodbye. Now, I don't know who the characters are behind those 344 million bucks, but if it happens for naughty characters, then it can happen for good characters as well. So there's no differential basically between the way those exchanges, etc., can work. So there you go. Look, I'll try and get through. This has been a big day today, people. Very exciting. Curious character. I'm going to give you a couple more shots. You're saying here, no, I'm saying there is hundreds of peer-to-peer, non-custodial, decentralized exchanges. All of them simple and don't have Stripe that cuts you off. Well, go and use them. You know, if you think they're fantastic, don't do any research on the losses experienced by these decentralized exchanges. And that's why there's been hundreds that have gone to the decentralized exchange graveyard, because they can't deliver the certainty of the transfer between two people. Now, when you lose a coin as a result of using a decentralized exchange like these particular non-custodial exchanges, you lose money and coins, and then you have a whinge because you can't ring up Mr. Decentralized DEX exchange and get a refund. It goes into the Neverland. Neverland. We don't want that. You've come this far. You've got a massive asset potential. You've got the growth that we talk about that we want to see. May not achieve that, but that's what we're pushing hard on. And the last thing you do is you get to the finish line, and then some dimwit gives you the wrong wallet address. You lose your coins and you don't get paid. So do a little bit of homework on these DEXs, because they're not all what they seem. And in fact, there's a nice summary on Zucoins.com under the Zoo AI banner that you can read about why they're so bad, because they cannot give you the clarity of some sort of an escrow or refund. Unlike people that get worked up with things like PayPal or eBay, you've got someone to ring and you say, oh, those products weren't very good, or I didn't get the money, or blah, blah, blah. And you blame eBay or PayPal, or you blame your bank because you got scammed and you didn't see it coming, and you try and get the transfers on some of those options that are on the DEXs and see how that goes. Not interested. If you are, read about how bad they are, or if you're comfortable, go and use them. Don't use Zutopia. So that's the advice that Dr. Zoo can do. We've spent big money on perfecting this, because whatever affects all Zucoin early adopters affects Dr. Zoo as well. And he hasn't come this far after $50+ million to sit back and lose it to some DEX that then sends it to North Korea, where the hackers are penetrating these particular DEX exchanges, and it ends up creating a new missile warhead for the great Kim Jong-un, Dung Dong. All right. So that's what happens if you read about how they work. Yeah, cheerful human. No, look, you've got to have the negatives. If you don't have the negatives, you can't have a positive, which is all about Newton's third law that Dr. Zoo talks about. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The negatives can be quite interesting, because when you push hard and push back, Dr. Zoo gets a lot of interesting ideas on where the focal point is. At the end of the day, we've transitioned from what a bad idea Zutopia was to how about we turn it on because I want to get trading quickly and I don't want to wait. And I don't care about our fellow Zucoin holders. They can get left behind. They will get left behind if they don't get it, but we'll just keep pushing on the way in which we want. Outgoing buddy, you've obviously missed the conversation. You've talked about Zutopia. It's switched on. It's already on. It's in live mode for onboarding. Read your email. If you satisfy Riley, he could turn on this afternoon if he wanted to. So you just sit tight. There's the April has been the date for everything, and I think from last count, let me just check. I'll look at the calendar. Oh, hang on. It's still the 27th of April. So we're still in April, people. Don't you panic. April 2026, which is awesome. And you just give your fellow Zucoin holders the opportunity to catch up. You might be a real smarty and you're really switched on, or you've had the opportunity of trading on Zutopia before. So just give your fellow new adopters that are coming on board thick and fast the chance to catch up, get used to it, trial and test it. Sometimes when you think about it, very rarely do you go and buy a brand new car and you don't take it for a test drive. I mean, I don't know who does that. Did they just go out and look at it and say, shit, I'll buy that. I'll buy that new Mercedes, or, that nice electric vehicle, that Tesla or whatever it is. And I'm just going to look at it and do nothing with it. Generally, most people want to test it. And rather than, going down the other road, and that's what we're doing. We test the product. We test the Zutopia all the time to get the benefits. We've been testing things that have reduced massive risks, particularly the reversals and chargebacks when we put in play the 3DS, forcing people to confirm their transactions so they're not naughty. You don't want naughty people. We want good money that pays good money to the sellers, and the sellers transfer their coin. That's the objective. That's what we've had to overcome in the world. But we don't want to go down that other road. And that other road is where, you buy a brand new pair of underpants, you test them, you scratch their butt every now and again with them, and then you say, oh, they're a bit itchy. I'll send them back. I want a refund. Well, we don't work on the underpants theory. We work on testing the vehicle and then making the decision. And that allows everybody the opportunity. Pretty simple. So that's what we're in. We're in the car testing phase of the live onboarding. We're putting bums in seats behind the steering wheel, go for a run, and then all of a sudden we'll really let them floor it. Away we go. Now, I think we'll try and wrap up here. You're wrong to say Uniswap goes bust. People can build new front end where Stripe can completely destroy you. Look, curious character, I think you've had a pretty good run. You've had a great run. But if you're so worried about it, then by all means, lead the way and show us what you got in mind and how it's going to work with 1 million people on Uniswap, that you can guarantee coins will be transferred and money will be paid. So if you can do that, Dr. Zoo is all ears. Game on, because it doesn't stop an alternative marketplace for Zucoins. Now, if you're worried about Stripe, well, you should be worried about everything, because Stripe is just a function of the existing global world financial system, which includes MasterCard and Visa and every bank on the planet. Now, you should be more concerned about the bank, or whatever bank you're using, simply going out there and saying, listen, we want to transfer $200,000 from the CBA to somebody on a Uniswap DEX sale of coins and see how that goes, because they won't send it. So it's about putting in play measures that give all the participants in that financial structuring comfort. The beauty of Stripe is that you follow through and increase the turnover, where we're working on absolutely near zero reversals and issues and risks. And that leads then to the ultimate goal, where Zucoins itself becomes the powerhouse dealing directly with merchants that want to accept it. And that's when the QR codes come in play. And Zucoins doesn't rely on any third party. It simply becomes the competitive, unique process that can bring into play millions or tens of millions of people, consumers, on the one hand, millions of merchants on the other, no fees and transactions from merchant to consumer and vice versa, for goods and services that have all sorts of wonderful advantages, and people can rely on the consumer laws to make sure there's delivery of those products and goods from around the world, because the merchants can get absolute certainty with the signature, cryptographic hash, points of confirmation or validation against the SplitChain, that the money is real and proper. Now, there was a program on the ABC not that long ago, which is on our website. There's a link of small businesses bleeding to death because consumers take advantage of the current financial structuring and then go about their day's business by saying they didn't receive the goods and the merchant's left holding the bag. And Uniswap is no different, right? It's a place that gives people the risk profile that you trust the other person at the other end to transfer the money, basically, and from all sorts of jurisdictions, right? It's a dangerous place to be, and then it's overlaid with all sorts of hacking and frauds, manipulations, and things that occur on that. That's what we're trying to avoid. Now, we're not perfect, but I tell you what, it's getting very, very close. I think, what have we got? Let's just, Wise Local, I want to onboard as many as I can, but have you read past such a simple question as clarifying Stripe? Well, the fees on Stripe are what they are. You live with it or you find somewhere else to trade. Dr. Zoo doesn't run the crypto charity organization in covering fees. They're not high fees because they're a percentage of the transaction, and they are lower than all of the fees that come with a normal centralized exchange. Because what you're not calculating, there are no fees of the transaction into and confirmation by the SplitChain, right? What you won't see in all clarity is the extensive fees that Bitcoin network charges over and above what they call the onboarding and offboarding or off ramp, the on and off ramp to get money into to buy crypto, or off when you sell crypto. So the fees of Stripe are fantastic, really, and you live with it. That's how it is. You pay the fee, but you don't have the additional fees that are caught up with, that are hidden behind the scenes when you come in and buy other crypto. And just put in, look, we've got some articles on this on Zucoins.com about fees. The miners do not do transactions into the Bitcoin blockchain for nothing. They mine so they get some or fractions of a Bitcoin, and they charge a fee. You will never, ever buy a cup of coffee with a Bitcoin. Right? The fees can be anything from $5 to $25 per transaction or more. At the heat of the moment, some of those were going as high as $45, $50. What Stripe also does is it charges a fee to validate the KYC, because at the moment, unfortunately, none of that compliance stuff comes for free. It's a fee. And that compliance could be $5 validation on the first month in relation to the fee. And you'll be charged that. If you don't like Stripe, don't use Zutopia. The fees are transparent, they're on the system, and you'll see that come together with the live transaction button when it's pressed by Riley. So that relates to the on cost of the Stripe fees. Eventually, in long term, when merchants start putting up acceptance of Zucoins, there will be zero fees because you're moving from your Zucoin wallet directly to a merchant because there are zero fees. If that was to be compared with Bitcoin, it will always have fees, no matter whether there's a Stripe or not. The onboarding is about putting in play an easy mechanism so that you can move money from the real world fiat using Stripe into the hands of a seller, and that's the price that's paid as a result of the fee. It's very simple. So that's the fee side of it there. Curious character. We might wrap up on you. We're well and truly past the point of no return here, but I meant just destroy Zutopia. I figure other decks will be built. Just wondering why doing this way and the benefits. Well, I've given you the benefits, and if you have any uncertainties, for goodness sake, curious character, please read the website. Please go to the comparisons we put in play, why we've done this, why the DEX exchanges and central exchanges are nowhere near the protection mechanisms and the transferability and the off-exchange security of coins and money. They are the answers to your question. Please do some homework and a little bit of research. It's cost a lot of time on Dr. Zoo today to answer questions that the answers are front and center and available on the website. And you will clearly see that. That includes the fees and what Stripe's doing, how it works. You cannot get, for example, a pre-authorization to check if people have the money in the first place to transfer to a seller. It's no good doing a $100,000 sale of a Zucoin and hoping and praying that the buyer has the money, or that you will receive that money. The pre-authorization gives the firepower to Stripe to check the buyer's credentials, to check the buyer's bank balance and lock it in, and then it processes the transfer off exchange. You do that. That is the seller directly, instantly, because of the big changes we did in December of 2025. And that completes the total picture of as good a certainty as possible that you can't get ripped off. Now that protects against the billions of dollars that have been lost on these exchanges, and the retail participants are the biggest losers. You may recall in October 2025, the biggest single day of losses were small players in the crypto space, not the big players, the little blokes. Billions were lost. That's what we're trying to avoid. So stick with it and you'll be fine. You will be fine. Wow, geez, the commentaries today, people, has been mind-blowing. I just can't see a quick I just can't see a quick couple of questions here that make any sense. Yeah, brave user. I've just talked about that $5 fee. That's because someone has to pay Stripe to validate you. And if you don't want to be validated, then you don't get the trade. So pretty simple. And think about it. Let me throw this at you. Let's say we're super successful and we get 100 million new people on board, crackerjack people onto Zutopia. 100 million. Let's work on 100 million because the nodes can cope with that. The onboarding's kicking ass. And we've now got the world's greatest peer-to-peer marketplace of 100 million individual people from around the world. Think about it, 100 million. Now, I don't know about you, even at the coins and Dr. Zoo sitting comfortably in his Gulfstream G800, comfortably, and enjoying flights to all of the greatest racetracks around the world, and maybe a bit early this year, but certainly would have loved to have zoomed into Lexington, Kentucky for the Kentucky Derby coming up shortly. But let's say there's 100 million new adopters that have got wallets. that have been verified by Stripe for KYC. Now, what person in their right mind would think that Dr. Zoo is going to send $500 million to Stripe to cover their costs because that's the fee they charge for KYC? Now, there are days when people around Dr. Zoo thinks he's completely lost the plot. You know, he's on the verge of a little bit of dementia and maybe trickling into Alzheimer's or just ending up in fruitcake land. But do you seriously think that Dr. Zoo, for the sake of the system and whatever else, is going to stump up $500 million? Now, it's better for brave user who might make millions of dollars trading to spend $5, which is not bad, it's USD, pay the $5, get compliant, do the right thing, and then trade on Zutopia and make millions. Makes a lot of sense. Just think about it, people. Try and expand where this is going, because the only way Zutopia, which it will, can make serious money is based on tokenization and introducing Zucas, of where the value proposition explodes because of geo-mapping, location-based data that can be on-sold, that I've raised that point way down the road, and can become a participant using the potential of those cash flows to also be part of the, effectively, the buying at all sorts of prices of coins back for then reutilization in the token world. That's for another day. At the moment, we just want to get people's heads on the $5. But if you don't want to be part of Stripe's world and the benefits, it may be cheaper to go and build your own decentralized exchange or platform or marketplace. That's the beauty of peer-to-peer digital asset and fractionalization through tokenization. You don't have to rely on anybody else. You'll be able to run your own node. You can run your own exchange. You can do all the legals and compliance, and you can then participate with how you onboard and what you do with KYC to get involved in the fiat world. So, wow, what a session this has been. Yeah, that's right. Zucoin Rocket Man. Don't know who you are, but it says it beautifully. I think we'll sum up for the day. We've gone well above time-wise, but having a whinge of $5 for a coin going to 1,000, it's just one of those things. So, yeah, wise local. It doesn't undermine buying a coffee. You missed the point. When you buy a coffee, you don't use Stripe. If the coffee shop begins to accept Zucoins, there is no fees. This is why we want to explode the growth of merchants through Zucas, because you don't need Stripe. You can walk up to the counter. If the price of the Zucoins is $1,000, it'll work out the fraction. You'll pay your dribbly fraction. You'll get the $5 of value in fractions of Zucoins to the merchant, and you walk away. And the merchant, guess what? Doesn't pay any fees, doesn't on charge, and gets certainty of the transaction. There's no reversal risk. Now, I know you guys don't have to worry about that, but merchants do. Merchants are exposed globally to chargebacks and reversal risks. That's the problem. Dr. Zoo fails to clarify Stripe fees for initial boarding. Well, unless you are trading right now, then why would we need to clarify anything? Because the onboarding relates to the onboarding. When they press the button, then there is obviously the fees and whatever's already disclosed in the go live of the trading. Just wait. Just wait. Let's not confuse people's brains in getting them onboarded to all the other things. We talk about that. So there's no failure in anything. Again, at any point, if anybody does not but want to participate or like or use Zutopia or anything like that, don't use it. Move on, find something else, and play with that other platform or build your own. It's pretty simple. Now, we learned a lot from KSC in the old Easy Bond days. It cost millions, because people are naughty. They don't like KYC. They want to put up phony passports, phony driver's licenses. There's no real match verification. Stripe takes that risk. They do the best. Then you've got address verification. You're going to go down the road of eyeball socket determination and biometrics and all sorts of stuff. So it's not easy when you deal with fiat to deliver an outcome. At the end of the day, people want to sell crypto, get the money, and put it in their bank account. The long-term objective is that you would hopefully never want to sell, because you can deal with merchants that offer products across every single thing you do in your day-to-day lives. You go to buy a car, you go buy a house, you go buy coffee, you go to the restaurant, you buy some shoes for the kids, you buy some pencils. That is where the ultimate crypto wants to be. That could never happen and should have happened with Satoshi. He can never deliver that outcome because of the very issues that we've talked about. Well, people, I think we're going to bring this to a close there. It's now 5:34, and the trouble is nobody want to re-listen to this, issue thing. But yeah, look, wise local, what you're right there is quite right. Things are coming. Just be patient, and we will be in good shape about the stuff that we're putting up. But we're trying to step this out one thing at a time. And curious creature, it's magnificent that at 5:35 you have hit the nail on the head. Zutopia is live, but can't do any transaction because your fellow Zucoin holders are working their way through to the live onboarding, and you don't want to wait. But I encourage you to keep up that enthusiasm, because I can recall, who I suspect Curious Creature is, you're one of the ones that were a bit of a disbeliever on Zutopia, and look at you now. You can't wait to transact. You are pumped. You are super pumped about the whole thing, and we cannot wait to see you in full mode trading 24 hours, 7 days a week around the world with instant transactions and gratification of wealth. This will be absolutely crackerjack stuff. So you, my man or woman, fantastic. We do have a bit of an idea about you, Curious Creature, so don't you worry. We've just been a bit flippant there, but certainly great to see that you cannot wait to trade, and we look forward to that day. I'm going to head off now, team. 5:36. My God, this is the longest we've ever had. Been fantastic. I didn't even get to talk about the topic on how Poland's largest crypto exchange has been subject to ongoing fraud, money laundering, where the CEO has, Mr. Kral, has admitted to knocking off $100 million and is now hiding in Israel, where there is no extradition. Because guess what? People relied on that particular exchange, the biggest in Poland. When I say big, it's got 30,000 users, including the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, who's blown his money up his ass, and that is where we do not want to be globally, people. We want people in Poland, our good friends there, to have the comfort of everything else and not concerning themselves about $5 for a KYC compliance for that month, trading in certainty of off exchange, holding onto their coins, unlike this particular wallet that held 4,500 Bitcoin, and that's gone down the proverbial shitter. And that is a centralized exchange, and there are at least, what I'm looking at here, 27 examples of decentralized exchanges where Kim Jong-un is having a great time and knocking off people's money and crypto. We don't want to be in that situation, people. So on that happy note, just stick with it and look out, people. We are certainly on the go, and don't be like these people now. Just watch this and look forward to Thursday. And if you've got a problem, just ask Riley, support@zutopia.com, how close he is to pressing that button.